And it was part of the last negotiations that we would be accommodated again if we needed to go back to the Minister, and that's what has happened this morning. I think the Taoiseach referenced a few times yesterday about the essentiality of haulage and that they have to look to us. We're trying to tease out what we can get going forward with the volatility and the massive increases. As you see last night, the bombing last night, I haven't in the last hour seen the price increase now because of this meeting. But like the dealers in oil in the London exchanges last night threw their hands in the air, and they just couldn't cope with the volatility and the spikes in oil. So it's very hard to get to a balanced and even package to us, and which would reflect our increased cost. There's many aspects to it. There's the renewed transport fuel application. There's the additives that come into fuel. There is all the extra costs we have on tolls and ferry charges. There's a thing on ferry charges called the BAFT, and that is taken in the increase of fuel to bin, plus the trading of the carbon. And on long boat journeys now to Europe, that's at €300 of an excess. And on shorter journeys to the UK, it's about 200. You have the charges that were put up last month in Dublin Port, you have the tolls, you have the 50. So you have a lot of extra costs. And then you, on top of that, AdBlue, which we use in our engines now, because that's ammonia based. They can't get fertilizer or get the ammonia in from the war zone. That's rising rapidly. So we're teasing out that full menu of costs and how we will get to some sort of I suppose we're nearly back to COVID times in getting a scheme to accompany the increase in costs and to tie it to the period of time, to tie it to the relativity on a weekly or a fortnightly or a monthly basis to the actual cost, to be kind of fair to the state or to fit within all the rules they have in Europe and still get to the figure. So it's a big menu on today. We certainly have put a lot of thought into the department and the different other people associated like revenue as to schemes, as to what we need and how we can do it. We certainly have put forward a set of equations that they can take forward to Europe that would hopefully encompass all I've outlined to you. That has to be teased out with us and two departments during the week, then taken onward to Europe to see can it be allowed. But, County Clare might have just changed a bit of thinking of Europe this morning with a bit of luck.
Well, we certainly hope so. And it is fair to say that even for the private motorist at the moment, the biggest driving factor behind what you're paying at the pumps isn't the conflict in Iran, it's still government taxation.
Well, the biggest equation on fuel is the taxation, but the rise is the war. And, when you look at our figures, and people might say, why are the hauliers on again? Like, we are a contributor between 800 million and, say, with the coaches that will probably come in under this, to up towards $1 billion of taxation to the state every year. We are, massive collector of taxation for the state. And what we're looking for is minuscule in comparison to the totality of taxation we collect. And also, it's at a stage of we are trying not to go back to our customer. We have surcharges in. We got a bit of relief the other day to just let us tread water. It has gone way above that. And just to keep our supply chain at a level that we can compete, it should cut down on the upward spiral, the absolutely unrelenting upward spiral of cost to people over the last few years. There are individual costs on what they choose to purchase and what they don't choose to purchase. I'm afraid will go up for another while because of the war, but that we might cut back on or ease the burden of the unrelenting rise of cost.
And with that then, Eugene, are you expecting another conversation with the Transport Minister next week or some class of an update next week?
I'd say the next conversation would be teasing out this evening with officials. We would prepare a paper over the weekend, putting the nuts and bolts and putting from this meeting the guidelines we've got as to where we're going. We've 2 or 3 different scenarios put to them. As I say, they have to fit into a lot of categories before they can get anywhere. They have a lot of other people pulling out of them. But for us, we have to try and now that we have teased out, some of different scenarios that we may put. We must now put logic to that, put the maths to it, put the totality of cost over a period, whichever period, month, 3 months, a year, to get that over the line in Europe, really, and to get it over the line with the departments. We start that over the weekend. We will input that first thing Tuesday morning, if not on Monday sometime, and have it sitting on the desk. We expect to talk to them again by Tuesday evening or Wednesday morning at the latest. If that requires another tease out with the minister, we will be looking for it. We want it on the table, on the discussions at Europe by whichever day next week. I'm sure there's ongoing discussions all the time now with this, but we need it next week on the table. It's that imminent, it's that needed. We're caught also by cash flow. Oil companies now are expecting payment before you get your next delivery, even though you might have had 30 days or 60 days. They don't know how they'll come out of it. So though they haven't cut your credit terms, they are demanding their checks a lot quicker. That cuts cash flow. It's a choking to businesses, and we need to get this moving. The need and the immediate need to business is frightening. Not to spread any sort of fear, but for haulage businesses. And the schemes we've put, we're trying to get them fair and balanced to the licensed haulier, to the tax compliant, and pro rata to everybody's usage. Now, there's a lot in that equation to bring that together. I would say we have certainly, as I said, brought 2 or 3 different scenarios to the department today. We certainly have given them food for thought, and we will certainly be following up on it fairly quickly and pushing it.